Hello, everyone. Welcome to Control. A year later, the road to developing an award-winning supernatural trip. I'm Janina Gavankar. People know me, if they do, as an actor from television and movies, or games like Star Wars Battlefront 2 or Far Cry 4. And if you if you follow my tweets at all, you know that I love this game. I loved Control. Like, whatever, we'll get into it later. Okay, I can't wait to introduce you to people. First up, we have Mikhail Kasurinen, the game director of Control. He has been at Remedy since the mid 2000s. He went on to work on Mad Max and Battlefield. He came back to work on Quantum Break, which I also love. He is the head honcho of Control. Next, we have Sam Lake. He's the lead writer of Control and Remedy's creative director. He created the core concept of Control together with Mikhail. We have Matthew Peretta. He's the voice of Alan Wake and is also the actor behind Dr. Darling in Control. Sam's showing you other parts of Alan Wake. And we also have Courtney Hope, of who was Beth in, wait, what is this? Here we go. Okay, I'm doing great. I'm not a host. Great. We have Courtney Hope, who is Beth in Quantum Break, and she's also Jesse Faden, aka the director of Control. Welcome everyone to this Zoom panel. We're doing what we can, and everything is graded on a curve. All right. So let's get to some questions, shall we? Let's just get right into it. It's been a little over a year since Control launched, to great reception. How has this year been for you? What have we learned? Let's start with Mikhail.
Yeah, I mean, during the creation of Control, we were doing a lot of new things, creating this strange, unfamiliar world. And there was a bit of, let's say, anxiety, like how will people receive it? And it was so great to actually see this response that we ultimately got. And I think the thing that we wanted to do with Control was that we kind of keep releasing content, we keep it alive. And what's really been great is that the community has been there. Like everyone's been excited about the game. Every single time we do something, they are there to join the fun and constantly finding all kinds of cool things in the game and so on. And that honestly has been the best thing for me, to see that community being so engaged by that game.
Oh yeah, I mean, as a member of that community, I don't want to leave. The world of Control was in my dreams. I mean, I'm speaking for everybody who's played it. It seeps into your consciousness and you don't want to leave. So please, yes, keep giving us more. What do you think has resonated the most with the community about the game?
From my end, it's what's so great is that we started off that we wanted to create this world that's kind of filled with stuff for people to find, explore, as you said, and that's really the thing that landed so well. That people keep still thinking, rightly. I'm not still sure if everybody's actually found everything yet. That they keep coming back to it and kind of trying to crack some of the mysteries that are there. And that's exactly what we wanted, and it's been great to see people seeing that aspect of the game.
Well, it worked, and I can tell you because I was so obsessed with all of the parts of it. I like could not get past Philip and the fridge. I looked at that fridge tweak out so many times, just with obsessively like, no, I will make this work. So yeah, that makes sense. And I know that there's secrets and puzzles and other things that, you know, released even later in AWE that people, I mean, I heard that you guys had like a poll going on the cat ear Easter egg.
Yeah.
How long, first of all, explain that so people know what I'm talking about. And how long did it really take the community?
I don't actually know exactly how long it took. All I know really at the end of the day that we continuously think that people will never figure this out. Like it's going to take ages for them to realize what is going on, or even realize that there's even a mystery. And every single time what happens is that, yeah, it's like 1 or 2 days later, oh, they figured it out. What? And it was actually funny, in AWE, there was actually a secret, and we also did a bet there. And our art director, Elmeri, said like 18 days. And I learned something through this year, actually. I said 1 day, and it's going to be figured out. And I was right. Okay, well, I missed it by like maybe 3 to 4 hours until they found it. And I was like, yes, I've learned something. Next time, I don't even know what we can do to keep these secrets anymore. Honestly, it's I'm
Oh
getting
my
a bit
gosh.
desperate.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is what you do so well. But and now we all just know that almost everything is going to lead to something else. So just keep digging. You know, I love that you didn't tell anybody what this was, but I gave a little bit of a hint. It
Mm-hmm.
includes cat ears. So just go figure it out. Go find it. Courtney, Matthew, have you played the game?
Yes, I played all of it, and my boyfriend played half of it because I learned very early on I am not good at combat. I am not good at it. I die like this. So it was like a joint effort. But yeah, I've played all of it. I've sat and watched all of it, and I loved it.
My kids play it, and it's like I kind of just watch them play. I'm not a gamer, but they fill me in on everything. In fact, I have some notes for you guys from my youngest of what he needs, what things that he needs for Jesse. So I'll give that to you after this is done.
All right, go.
Awesome.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
Looking
Really,
forward
he
to
did
that.
tell me before
Yeah.
we started. He goes, "Listen, I won't say what he wanted, but he was like, she needs this, that." Then I'm like, okay, I'll let him know.
You know, Courtney, you said this cuddle up, right? Like the couple cuddle up of a game it's my favorite thing. You know, people have different skills, so it's a great way to experience the best games. Really, the best ones are the ones that cause the cuddle up to happen, and they're great. Okay.
Well, and I was gonna say quickly, I think it's interesting too. What I learned about it as well is playing something with somebody else. Like everybody explores something different in the game. Like what I want to go look at and what he wants to go look at. So it is kind of interesting to have that collaboration of fans. I know they do that, in their own world, but it's nice to do that because other people find things that you might not have even gone in that room to go look at.
Yeah, especially in a new relationship, you're like, really? That's how your brain thinks? Oh, no, I just learned so much about you by interacting with a game together. Okay, so it's been a good year, guys. But can we start from the beginning? Sam, can you tell us how long ago did you start creating Control? And I just need to know what that weird ass conversation was.
Well, first of all, kind of this year, I have to say that I am still a bit nervous and worried that kind of with Control we have caused the whole 2020. I mean, we have this otherworldly thing called the hiss leaking in and infecting everybody, and altered world event. This has been an altered world event the whole year.
False.
Yes.
So sorry, everybody.
This is a
Our
fair
apology.
point.
Yeah, it felt like a good idea at the time, but yeah.
Yeah, we are sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
I mean, it's strange how these things have kind of many beginnings, and it kind of is built from different pieces. The first time at Remedy, when we were talking about an idea to have this kind of a bureau investigating strange otherworldly events, goes back like, pretty much to Alan Wake, so 10 years. And that kind of went away, and we went with other ideas. But then, like, when Mixu came back to Remedy to work on Quantum Break, and like in the latter part of Quantum Break, we started workshopping and brainstorming kind of what the next project would be. All kinds of ideas flying around, but then kind of slowly, piece by piece, the idea of Federal Bureau of Control and this kind of a weird, strange, nightmarish action adventure game kind of was built. So what would I say? Kind of, 4 years, 5 years to start with the kind of small ideas, but then officially, like actually going with it, it was pretty much 3 years to figure it out and build it.
I think the most meaningful moment was when we had a number of different sessions, Sam, in Kalastajatorppa, the hotel. It's really, I kind of reminisce those days fondly sometimes, how great it was to just
Actually,
sit down, and we took days and just talked about it and so on.
Now that you mention it, it's this kind of a pretty retro hotel and conference center in Helsinki, and surprise, we have this pretty retro.
That's interesting. Yeah, and we literally locked ourselves in and didn't leave until we had something, and then this happened.
Well, you're locked in again. This is so. So what were some of your references? Like, take us to that conversation. What were some of the things that you pulled into the conversation that you wanted to really kind of borrow from spiritually?
Yeah, I mean, like once again, many things. But very much at that point in time, we were kind of gravitating towards, science fiction kind of grounded in reality, and kind of a literary genre of new weird in a way. That and Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation being a great example of that. Something where things are left for interpretation when it's kind of a very strongly atmospheric experience, but the actual information in the narrative is not handed to you and explained to you. It's rather there for you to discover and piece together from these fragments to create your own interpretation of what's going on, with the idea that if we were to deal with these kinds of otherworldly alien forces, then maybe human mind can't even understand them. And from that came the idea that, well, we have this bureau that's very much looking into these and trying to use them and understand them, but and they certainly have their own science and own theories, but is that the correct interpretation? And that's left for the player to figure out. Also, kind of another long-standing source of inspiration on the kind of a literary side is book called The House of Leaves, which is kind of a postmodern horror story, and that also felt really fitting because there are multiple layers of narrative going on, and you are kind of trying to form your own idea of what's really happening in it. It's kind of a postmodern writing, all in all, I've always felt is kind of a game for the reader. You are almost playing game, figuring it out, and obviously we make games, so that felt like a great reference point as well.
Wow, this is a new concept. I've never heard anybody say this, that postmodern literature is a great starting point or a great reference to games. Wow. Cool. Okay, I'm gonna talk about that another time. I'll go down a rabbit hole. But the thing is that's an esoteric reference. You didn't say The X-Files, Mr. Robot. You didn't choose sort of like lower hanging fruit. And I love those shows, but so I'm not saying it disparagingly at all. But you're choosing pretty esoteric ideas. How do you how do you, I mean, that I guess is the way to stay true to what a Remedy game is. It's a specific kind of weird, but how do you take that and then make a palatable game that works for a wider audience?
It's a good question, and we wrestle with it. I mean, but of course there are these, you know, of course there is an echo of X-Files in it, you know,
sure.
just having a bureau and weird phenomena, and there are other kind of maybe more, you know, explosion-like references, like say Christopher Nolan's Inception was a big thing for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that in there as well. But you know, to really go into the heart of it and you know, draw things out of it, that the new weird felt inspirational and exciting and new for myself and Mixu as well, I think.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is big spectacle, action, story, and you know, kind of a superhero thing as well, with Jesse's powers and all of that. So it's once again like many things coming together and forming hopefully something unique in the process.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's probably keeps it in more of the art world, right? I mean, we see games that are clearly referencing other games, and then it becomes self-referential and really derivative, instead of going sort of zooming out and looking at other pieces of culture like movies and books. And that is like, I mean, the movies are referencing literature anyway, so why not go back to the source? It's a safer bet. Also, I have a question. If you're going to say new weird, but like make it like a term, like nouveau weird, what is the Finnish way of saying new weird?
Uuskumma. Uuskumma.
Better.
We should go with that, actually, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You should go trademark that. Go like, trademark that real fast.
If you go and ask Ahti, he would tell you.
Okay.
T-shirt.
I'm into it. I think this is an industry-wide new term. I like it. I say we push it. Okay. So my next thing that I just kind of want to bring up is that, you know, it's rare for anyone to build a troupe of actors, even as a filmmaker, and those who do are often auteurs, like a Wes Anderson or a Taika Waititi or a Bong Joon-ho. These people have their trusted artists and performers that become like a theater troupe for them. And that gives a certain kind of yumminess to a project. Like you get to play friends that you know and love. And Control is very much a Remedy All-Stars project. I would love to know from the actors, what does that call like? How did you get involved with Control specifically? Let's start with you, Matthew.
Well, you know, I started with Alan Wake, and that was just by chance, just showing up to an audition and getting the job. And, you know, sometimes in your career, things work out, you know what I mean? And this worked out. And, you know, you meet people that are like-minded and are creative, and you just click. And everybody over at Remedy is just like that. They're very, you know, they're looking to create something different and new, and you know, it's what, you know, being an actor, that's what we want, right? So it's kind of it's like a safe place where, I mean, you know, you guys the Remedy is so brave to do that. There's so much on the line making a game. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of times people will be safe, but it's like, I mean, you guys go for it, and I'm down. It's like I'm ready to go for it too. It's like, you know, put me in my underwear and like have me have a nervous breakdown or sing. I'm like, I'm your guy. So yeah, it's been great. Really, it's just a gift, really.
Courtney.
Yeah, I mean, all of what Matthew just said is 100% on the nose. I mean, it was the same thing with me. For Quantum Break showed up just for an audition, and like he said, it all worked out, and it was fantastic working with everybody from Remedy, and and really creating, like Matt said, something new and something of depth. I know that for me, that was something that was really important, and I felt like the layers just kept coming, and that was something that like I personally was craving, and I love collaborating with everybody at Remedy. So when Sam had called me about Control, I mean, it was like, hey, it's Sam, and I'm like, I'm in. Like, he didn't say what it was. I was like, I'm in. But then when he told me what it was, I was like, oh, now I'm 100% in. Hell yeah. So I mean, I'm definitely honored, and I've grown so much as a human being too, and I've made lifelong friends and family from working with Remedy. So I'm beyond happy.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk about Jessie for a second. Mikhail and Sam, you can tell me what were the core tenets that you wanted to make sure she was built on, to make sure she was a fresh new character.
Sam, do you want to start?
Yeah, like just briefly going to All Stars idea. I mean, when you work with somebody and you find a very talented, person you can trust, it is a kind of a big deal, and what kind of when creating new characters and writing, I find it great to be able to think it through somebody I already know, and I have an idea that they could do a really good job with this character. So in the case of Jessie, from pretty much from the beginning, I had Courtney in mind, and it did go back to Beth Wilder in Quantum Break, also from the perspective that it felt always during Quantum Break that we could have done more. And then there are all kinds of production realities and scoping and all of these things. So it just felt like now we can do more with Jessie. And so that in some ways was a starting point. And then, just wanted also, this young woman who is very much like in a big contrast to the world that she steps into, and that was also important to have this point of view. We are following into this crazy, weird experience, and kind of we wanted to flip it so that it wouldn't be somebody who would be horrified, like, and shocked as the first reaction, but somebody who actually feels at home, because that's a very kind of a surprising way into it, that instead of, oh no, this is a house of horrors and I need to get out, rather have this really strong reaction of, I want to find out what this is, because it feels like I've been looking for this all my life. And that was a kind of a very much a starting point. Somebody who is excited about it, because in a game it's also very important, because we know that the players playing this game, they will be excited and they want to learn more. And then creating a character who is all about that, as a starting point. So that's how Jessie was born.
Yeah, I have exactly pretty much the same thing. What makes me kind of really like Jessie is that I remember, Sam, when we talked about the kind of opening sequence and she comes in and finds the old director and so on. And we talked about the line where she literally says, I am happy. Like that she has this first inkling that she starts to be in a place where she feels almost like at home. That she's what she's been looking for in a strange, weird way. And that to me belongs to when we talk about new weird as a genre, that there's this overall feeling that there's this holistic take of the world. Yes, the world is weird, but the character is kind of a bit weird as well. And that was a huge part of Jessie. And she was ready, and she felt like she belonged. She's ready to kind of dive deeper. And that's what makes her a fantastic character.
Mm. Courtney, you know, the flow for an actor working on a game can be really disjointed as you fly back and forth. And how much time did you shoot? Do you work on Control?
I think it spanned over like a year and a half from flying back and forth. I remember he called me in September of 2017, I believe, and I didn't start filming until like March or something of 2018. My brain's like a calendar, so it just like zooms in. It's like, oh, that's the date. Sorry. And then we had just finished it. So I guess in total, actually 2 years, because we just filmed the last stuff for the deal. But the actual main game, I think, was like a year and a half.
Mm-hmm. And so that means you're sort of clicking in and out of this character while you're also working on other projects. What are some things that you use to have you quickly drop into her, to sort of put her back on?
Well, I think for me, and I say this a lot, but when I work on something, I create the memories of that human being. Not just necessarily looking at like the lines or what they're going through circumstantially. It's like the memories of um, my childhood and you know, the slide projector, and I mean that stuff was so vivid to me from the beginning that every time I came back it was like easy to just jump right back in, because I just immediately mustered up those memories and was like, oh, okay, here I am. And what the oldest house was like, and what it was like with Dylan and not being around him and being on the streets. I mean, stuff that was even like not written, you know, was so vivid in my mind. So it became easier for me to switch back and forth. It was kind of something I, you know, cultivated over the years because of switching back and forth. I was like, okay, what's the most efficient way? Well, create memories, you know, memories in our own mind, in the human psyche. If it's something profound to you, you're not going to forget it. And so that was something that also kind of brought up a lot of feelings. All the emotions were there too. So that was my way through at the blink of an eye.
Mm. And is there one specific memory of Jessie's that takes you right in?
Yeah, it's Dylan. I think Dylan for me, like even now, it makes me emotional. Like Dylan for me, so real. And it's so, that's my fight. That's my livelihood for continuing to stay alive and continuing to accept and embrace and eventually learn, you know, to celebrate challenge, because it's like I know at the other end of it, I just knew, you know, that he's still somewhere. And that became every fight I was ever in, whether it was you know, metaphysical or physical or emotional. As Jessie, that was the one thing that was always like that dangling carrot in front of me. Like, okay, as long as I have my eye on him and the potential of him being somewhere out there, then I can get through anything. And so that Dylan, him being taken, was like, that's really real for me.
That's really powerful because, you know, obviously that's like backstory, so it grounds you, but it's also a super objective, which is a very theater term for everybody who's watching who's not like a nerdy actor. It just means that like, yeah, you have a scene and you have an objective in a scene, but for everything to work together, you have to have a super objective. It's almost like a biodome that goes over the entire thing to keep you intact. And it's really powerful that one person can be both things for you. That's pretty special.
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my favorite things about Remedy games is the live action elements. I really think that your studio sews together these mediums really, really well in a really special way. Just the Easter eggs in general. I don't know if anybody out there knows this, but when Quantum Break came out, I did a live reading of Time Knife, the screenplay, in my home, and it was just one of the most fun things I've ever done. You guys are a bunch of weirdos. I love it. So I would love to know
Proud
how the
about that.
idea of Darling's videos came about.
Yeah, it is a good question, and because in that way, Matt's experience with this game is very different from Courtney's experience, obviously.
Yeah, it must be.
Because Darling essentially exists only in these videos, and that was, you know, for and there are multiple reasons. Like I just felt that I mean, you know, as said, live action. We've done that, and it's been a journey going back all the way to Max Payne, where we started doing these in-world TV shows in small televisions inside the game world. And back then it was that just, you know, still frames with kind of a radio play, because technology wouldn't allow us anything else. Then in Alan Wake, we got to the point where we could actually have live action footage in them. And you know, going forward to Alan Wake's kind of a spin-off small game, we ended up doing the cutscenes as live action. And it was a smaller project, so that made sense there. Then in Quantum Break, we just went crazy. It's a full TV show inside the game. And now in Control, we kind of scaled back from that, but we wanted to find new ways to use live action. And obviously we have all kinds of kind of experimental live action use going on. As an example, you know, when the old director Trench appears to you, that is all live action footage, but it's in layers as a blended video on top of the game footage while you are playing. And when you know, maybe these are some spoilers, but I guess it's 1 year, so no
Come
matter.
on, guys.
When you are on the trail of Ahti, you know, and he has left for his summer vacation somewhere, you have this journey and kind of this, you know, idyllic landscape starts to come in as live action footage as you walk towards him. So we have these experiments going on, but at the same time, it felt like we can do and be much more ambitious with this idea of in-game TVs or in-game screens, and let's come up with really fun and good content for those. And that felt like, well, it would be great for Darling that we have this character who is a very integral, central part of the Bureau, that the main researcher. All of this crazy science is based on his work. But when we set out in the game, he's already gone. He has disappeared because of this crisis, and we don't know where he is. And all we have are these breadcrumbs of his, you know, internal educational videos, and then his more private video diaries, and kind of interleaving these, showing the public face of this guy, but then showing the private version, and building a proper arc to kind of actually have a layered, interesting character who maybe first appears almost bit of a joke and you know, bit of a showman doing his presentation, but then we start to see some cracks appear and get this deeper view into him, and that was the idea. And you know, Darling, once again going back to Remedy All Stars, Darling was custom made for Matt, like so working with Matt on Alan Wake and getting to know Matt. And Alan Wake is a certain kind of a hero character as you have, but you know, knowing Matt and knowing that he can do comedy as well, really well. It just, I wanted to find these kind of both sides and put them into Darling. that there is this showman and there is this kind of a comic side to him, but then a very serious side as well. And that's Darling. It worked. I'm still kind of like, you know, excited when I think about it, and you know, just to be honest, Matt visited us once for a week, and we
You did that all in a week?
We had the sets built, and obviously he had the screenplays beforehand, and then we did a very basic traditional live action shoot for a week with just him on the set of, you know, his private room, and then the kind of a presentation lab room, and we did all the materials, including the music video, and it was fantastic.
God bless you guys. That's fun.
Yeah.
But how much content is that? How much did you guys create?
Pretty much, I think it's 40 minutes or so of content in game.
Just so you know, you don't know this, but when I had a layover from, I think it was at a layover in Oslo, I left the script on the plane. I literally
I can't.
As I got on the flight to Helsinki, I'd like, you know, I got it probably like 2 days before I jumped on the plane. So I had notes and everything like that, and everything gone.
Oh.
So I just casually just, hey, so do you guys you have another script? You know, and it was like, oh, sure. It's like, so yeah, it's somewhere, it's floating around out there somewhere.
Oh,
viral marketing.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, it was 4 days, and it was like being shot out of a cannon. I think, you know, you want to talk about like building a character. It really was, you know, you go with what was on the page, right? And there was a lot on the page. But everything came together through, you know, through everybody, my costumes, the sets, everything. As soon as I like, you know, I got those round glasses, I got my lab coat, you know, it's like, you know, my sweater vest and my bow ties, and you know, it just started to happen, this kind of like curious optimism of this guy. Even if he was like, you know, things were kind of falling apart, he was still curious. So I think as I was going, there was really just one line that summed Darling up for me, was that, I think it's like one of his last lines, is he's kind of like cracking up in his underwear, and he says, there's one more thing that's happening. And you know, I've been talking about like all this horrible stuff that's been happening. And the last line is something wonderful, I think. And so I was like, oh, that's who Darling is. No matter what, it's like that. There's like this optimism, and there's this beauty that he sees in the hiss. There's like, I mean, it's a great character. I mean, it's so much fun to do. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I got this guy. I see it. I see who he is. And again, it's on the page. So thank you.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's sort of two kinds of scientists that we normally see the other mad scientist, which is like, I don't care how I get the discovery, but I'm gonna make a discovery and make history. And this guy is like, all of this is history. All of this is new.
Right. The curiosity, it's like he's like the lotus in the mud puddle, right? So that it's like, it kind of stays like Darling, you know what I mean? And there's just chaos, and like, you know, it's like, you know, he's talking about, you know, we lost some valuable members in our team, I think he says, and it's like, you know, there's going to be collateral
damage,
you know?
Yeah.
And it's all, you know, it is a great character. I mean, and again, in a weird way, when you are doing stuff at that speed, 4 days, it's like you're cranking out, you stop looking at yourself. It totally takes you out of, you know, that where you're really just in the moment. You know, you're like doing stuff, and you can do some really good work because you're not focused. It's like you don't have time.
Yeah.
So you're just like you're out there doing it and stuff happens. It was
Yeah, just to give people a perspective on how much material 40 minutes really is. Your standard network television show that you're watching is around 40 to 44 minutes, and will take about 10 days to shoot that. And the requirement of the actor, the load on the actor is so much less than what they did, because you're working with other people and you have time off when they move the cameras around. None of that happened when they were shooting this. These are locked off shots, which means they put one camera right here and he's just got to go. So this is like doing a one-man show and workshopping it and capturing it at the same time in 4 days. This is a feat for everybody involved. It's a giant
The Darling Show.
Yeah, it's a giant amount of work, and I think you should probably go to Broadway with it. I'm just saying, like, throwing it out there. Just like think about it. Just try it out.
Go The Darling the musical.
Yeah. Yes, I'm into it. Can you give me, Matthew, can you give me the difference between the voices, Darling and Alan?
Well, Darling is more, there's an optimism, a youthful quality. And there is just there's a youthful quality, whereas Alan Wake is an old soul. And it's funny, Alan Wake was a character that was created over 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And Darling was created in 4 days. You know what I mean? I mean, just from, in my perspective, we did it in 4 days. But I think, Alan Wake, I didn't know anything about video games when this started, like nothing. I didn't know. And so it just kind of, it evolved. I mean, Alan Wake is more down here, where Darling speaks like I speak.
Because he was written for you.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful now, like, for the second DLC, AWE DLC, to come back to Alan Wake's character with Matt. I mean, because of the COVID situation, it was really interesting. Like, Matt was in New York, myself and other Remedy people in Finland, our performance director Hannah Price was in the UK, and the audio technician was from Side LA in Los Angeles, and then a couple of days of shooting all the Alan Wake voice materials for AWE. So strange times, but we got everything that we needed, and these days, even after a long break, going back to Alan Wake with Matt, it's like, and it's on.
It's funny. It's like a long weekend, right? You just kind of like, we had just like a weekend off, then back. We're like, oh yeah, right. Okay. I remember this guy. Let's do this.
Yeah. It's kind of what Courtney was saying. It's like you have something that you can grab onto, and it drops you right back in. Yeah. And you did just mention, there's a connection in this Remedy connected universe. Can you tell us more about that? For us Remedy heads? Who'd you said no? No.
I mean, yeah, like it's been our dream for a long time, and this idea has been bouncing around, and we've been biting our tongues not to say anything, beforehand. Going into Control, we didn't want to say anything, although it was, of course, clear to us that it is in the same world. We wanted to hide this fact, and obviously in Control, going around, you can find the bureau documents that kind of ease the bureau's investigation into Bright Falls events in 2010, and even at that point we really didn't want to say anything other than then we started talking about the second DLC, AWE, and even in the kind of the image for that we have this silhouette of a man in a forest with a flashlight, which is pretty clear then. And this now for us was kind of the first baby step, I would say, into Remedy Connected Universe, kind of a first crossover event. And you know, obviously it's a DLC, so it's not a huge game or anything, but you have to start from somewhere. And now kind of we brought in Alan Wake and Alan Wake elements, you know, to visit
to visit. I like that.
For a visit in the bureau and in control. And well, this is the first step, and we are not ready to kind of really talk about anything specific that we are working on. Obviously, we are working.
Oh, but you are working on something. It sounds as though you might be working on some kind of connection between the two.
Well, like the game that we are working on is set in this same universe. That much we can say. And we have big plans, and we are very excited. And you need to stop us now before we say anything more.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. But it's just very exciting to hear that you're thinking about it. And it makes sense because, you know, you were talking about a bureau 10 years ago. So what's exciting to me as like a snob is that you're not just retconning things to make it make sense. You're not just trying to find these little weird pockets to shove connection into. This has really been a part of the Remedy consciousness for a decade already, connecting all of these things. So that's probably why it feels so seamless and why it will continue to.
Having said that, what I think is really important to us is that there is this sense of stylistic and tonal clarity between the different games that we create. When you look at Control and when you look at Alan Wake and so on, you can kind of see and sense that there's a different kind of approach to how the experience comes across to the player. Like there's a certain kind of lens that we use as we look through the kind of content of the world. And that was the kind of angle that we took with AWE as well, that we wanted to kind of peek into the world of Alan Wake through the Control's lens, basically. And that's how we set up a lot of things up. So it's important to us that there's this like sense of a clear distinction between the different kind of games that we create, but still there's this connecting tissue that makes them bigger than the sum of their parts. So that's really exciting, and that's something that I think well, as Sam said, we can't talk more at this point.
Well, like as a tiny thing, like to echo Miksu, the kind of how we see it is that every game we create, we want it to be first and foremost a great experience on its own. But then the idea of Remedy Connected Universe is there to give it depth and kind of create this ongoing narrative while you can experience this one thing on its own. There are still interesting links and connections and kind of a deeper layer in this that for our fans, you know, who want to experience the universe will get all of that, while, you know, everybody who comes for just one game will still get a great experience on its own.
Yeah. Well, I mean, oh God, whatever. Yes, great. We like it. We're running out of time, so I don't want to talk too much about my own opinions. But they're all just positive. Okay, so I do have to kind of ask, this is a silly question, but if you could have one ability from Control, which one would it be and why? Courtney, go.
I say this all the time, but I say levitate, and it's only because I have always wanted to fly. I always thought it was something cool. I used to be really afraid of heights, and then I learned I was afraid of the fall, not being up high. Yeah. So I figured there's this, I don't know, something really cool about, I don't know. We're running out of time. That's what I would do. I would love to. Yes.
Okay, Matthew.
Telekinesis, I guess, or maybe pick up a car and throw it. I think that's kind of fun. You can pick stuff up and
All right.
You know, in a traffic jam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. LA
Yeah.
traffic.
Gently.
Yeah, gently.
Sam, how about you?
I would choose coffee. No, wait, that wasn't the power.
Yeah.
I will go with levitate as well. I think it would be wonderful.
Gosh, and Mikael?
Yeah, I think there's an ability that people don't even realize necessarily it's an ability, but there's this thing called a hotline that allows Jesse to commune with things in the beyond. That would be kind of cool to be able to do that. Have a chat with Trench, maybe.
Oh man. Of course you chose hotline. Oh my god.
Of course.
Yeah, it's definitely now. Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, so a year later, guys, what is the most surprising thing from all of this? Mikhail?
The most surprising thing. I hate to be boring, but it's. I just read it, I think a couple of weeks ago, and there was this one guy, or woman, who basically was playing the game and was trying to get like 20 million these kind of source items in the game, and those are those like little kind of blue things that drop from the enemies as you deal damage to them, and so on. So you kind of collect this currency, and 20 million, that's like crazy. That amount, that's just insane.
Yeah.
And he was having fun, and to me that was in a strange way a kind of thing that I never expected, that I would ever have been part of creating a game that made people play like that, experience something like that, be so engaged, invested in the world, and it made me really happy in a weird way when I saw that, and a bit sad maybe for that person, but like he was happy, so I should be happy as well. So there was a surprise
you're causing massive engagement.
Yes.
Okay, I have to wrap it up now. I would just love to ask you guys so many more questions. First, I want to thank you for making this game and continuing to make the new weird. And what's the Finnish word?
Uuskumma.
I still can't. Okay, we'll get it. We'll have to write it down so PAX can put it under a Chiron. Speaking of, thank you PAX for having us, and thanks Remedy for calling me to come play. Seriously, you guys make some of the most exciting games. You're one of the most exciting studios in the entire games industry, and I know I speak for everyone when I say please give us more. And that's it. That's the end of the panel. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and let's do this again next year.
Okay.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Thanks guys.
Thank you.